It's like a recurring guest at this point. Chris Jericho is in the house, the UK's favourite son. I said it. How was the tour, man, with Inside the Ropes? I saw the London show. It was great.
Well, you just answered your own question right there.
For you.
It was great.
How was it for you?
It was fun. It was a great week. And I always love doing those shows and working with Kenny and the guys at Inside the Ropes. And all three of the shows were awesome. So it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it seemed like a home run. I do have to ask, though, because I know we've got plenty of fans in the UK that are waiting for Fozzy to come over. I believe November you're penciled in for. But I'm hearing a bit of a sore throat going on, Chris. You had a bruised larynx. Is that right?
I have a bruised larynx. Yeah, we had to postpone the first 2 weeks of the tour. It was supposed to start next week here in the States. And it's just a matter of time, just waiting for it to heal. There's really nothing you can do. There's no shot you can take or, medical procedure you can do. It's just a bruised larynx that actually happened during the Quake by the Lake show a couple of weeks ago in Minneapolis. So we're just waiting it out, man. Hopefully it gets better soon. But we had to switch those 2 weeks. But hopefully by November, I'll be back up running and we'll be ready. We love playing the UK. The last time we played the UK, every show was sold out. This tour is going great as well. So we're really, really excited about it.
Fear not, UK. Chris Jericho by November will be just fine. Bryan Danielson, Chris Jericho. It feels incredible to me that you've only had the one singles match. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. 2010 was the only time you guys locked up, right?
Yeah, I don't even count those matches because I think there was another time, probably a combined total of 10 minutes between the two. I remember the first one we had on the first episode of NXT was like 6 minutes or something like that. And the fact that it's never happened. I think we had one house show in San Juan, Puerto Rico that I recall. So 3 times maybe. And the last time, like you said, was over 10 years ago. We've never had a pay-per-view match together. We've never had a main event match together. So it's one of those, dream matches that you're like, I can't believe we've never done it before. And now we are. So it wrote itself. I mean, we've been doing this with the JAS and the Blackpool Combat Club for, I don't know, 3 months or so, 4 months, whatever it's been. So we've had some clashes. Obviously, Anarchy in the Arena was one, Blood and Guts was another one, but a full-on singles match, which is why there's such a buzz about it.
And that's always cool. Like, obviously at your point in the career when you've done everything, those fresh matchups are always really exciting. Yeah.
No, it is. It reminds me of the first time I wrestled The Undertaker, which I think I was in WWE for over 10 years before we ever touched. And we never had a pay-per-view match either. It was one match on TV and maybe one more after that, singles matches. So it's very rare, and it's really exciting to know that we actually have this forum for sure.
Now I know, because of the list of Jericho, that you keep a very strong eye on who you've encountered, and you have a good documentation of such. So is it fair to say you've had this match in your mind for a while, like, man, we really should get around to that? Or did it kind of just dawn on you one day, like, wow, we really haven't done that match?
Probably when Bryan came to AEW last year, you're like, okay, well, somewhere down the line, there should be a match for us. But once again, it's always about the story. The story has to fit any match that you do, at least in my experience. And the story's perfect. It's ripe for the picking, and it's built up properly. And like, you really don't even have to do anything. Like Pat Patterson used to say, the match is made. That's the angle. You don't need anything more. The story has written itself. I mean, obviously we got a great little twist with Daniel Garcia that we'll continue to expand upon. It's not something that I've been, pining for and counting the days off. But as soon as he showed up here, I was like, oh, that's a no-brainer. And there's a lot of guys like that in AEW where when the time is right, there's a huge match just waiting to happen.
And we know that obviously Bryan had some time on the shelf only, a month or two ago. Yeah, at that point, are you thinking, was your mind starting to turn of, okay, what could we possibly do instead? Potentially it could be something to do with the Blackpool Combat Club, I guess, because that's the story we're in. But did it ever get that far where you started thinking of alternatives?
We kind of had it sketched out to do this at this pay-per-view, but he did get injured. So it was just kind of penciled in. And then when he started to show signs of coming back, well, then we had it all figured out. But if he wasn't ready, we would have come up with something else. But you don't worry about that sort of stuff. It never got that far. It was always like Danielson, Jericho in September. And if he's not ready, we'll think of something else out, but we didn't have to worry about it because he was ready and he has been ready for the last month or so. So there's plenty of time to build it the way we wanted it to. And once again, the story wrote itself. I mean, Anarchy in the Arena, Hager and I choked him out for the finish, and then he was hurt. So, like I said, it's pretty much been writing itself the whole time, and it's reached a great kind of crescendo at the perfect time. It's interesting too, because we did the 3-week kind of program for Moxley at the Quake by the Lake. And once again, everybody was hurt this summer. I think if Mox wasn't in the main event, Jericho was. And between the two of us, it just was a no-brainer once again to do that match, because we had never had a rematch since he beat me for the title in February of 2020. So it was perfect. And then we had 3 weeks to get to here, but we've already been working for 3 months, like I said. So I think the best thing was we didn't have to rush anything, and everything just kind of fell into place the way we wanted it to.
You did mention Anik in the Arena and how successful JAS has been. There's been reports that, Matt Menard and Angelo Parker have secured new deals with AEW. Like, how proud does that make you, man? Like, the great work that they've been doing as part of the group, and it's been rewarded, and rightly so.
Yeah, and Jake Hager too. They all got contract extensions. Like I said, I've told the story many times, how the Jericho Appreciation Society came to be, and it was never planned. It was just something that happened in accordance to the circumstances that we were facing. And I think the moment the 5 of us got together, it was a different vibe from the inner circle, but I knew that those guys were really good the moment I started working with them. So yeah, I do feel proud that they got contract extensions, raises, everything in between. I don't say anybody deserves it. They earned it.
Yeah.
They earned it by showing what they could do. And another thing, I mean, the JS has so many members, because that's the way Tony wanted, adding Sammy and Ty and adding Anna. And I can't do everything for everybody. So I love that they have their own story going on with Angelo and Hook. And Daddy Magic has a shoulder issue, so he's been doing commentary on Elevation, and I think on Dark as well, and he's been killing it. So I gave them an opening, and they just kicked the door open, and they understand the more they can do, the more valuable they are to the company. And Tony Khan agreed, obviously. So it is great to see, because like I said, they didn't deserve it. They earned it.
And the other member to talk about there, of course, is Daniel Garcia. You mentioned the wrinkle in the story between yourself and Danielson being Garcia, and, the respect, and he fell in line, we saw on Dynamite, but then people are still curious as to what exactly will happen after the way it went down on Dynamite this week. How pleased again, we spoke about this last time we spoke a couple of months ago, but he seems to be growing all the time. And the receptions to his matches with Danielson in particular have just been fantastic.
Yeah, and what he's learning, I mean, he always had the wrestling side of things, and that's just been improving, but the personality and the psychology and the storytelling. I said after that 30-minute match he had with Danielson, which was an amazing match, I think the biggest pop maybe he got was just by spinning me around and just staring at each other. That's so much a part of what wrestling is. And people might not agree with this, but I know I'm right. It's more important than the matches. The story always means more. And once again, it just organically came to be where this kind of, tug of war for Daniel Garcia between Danielson and Jericho, it's been very intriguing, and it's added an extra twist to our match. So I like that. I like the fact that we have a really great match primed and ready to go, but there's also a really great story that can lead and continue on after that match. So, Sunday will be the first match between Danielson and Jericho. I'll say it's the first real one, but it's probably not going to be the last one, because there's so much more that we can do between the three of us, and there's other characters as well that we can introduce to the story that we will.
I've got to ask you on another topic. I don't suppose you've seen some of the headlines making today from Triple H's chat with Ariel Helwani?
I haven't, no.
So he basically said at one point in this, Helwani was asking about if, NXT was punished for losing the Wednesday Night War, by Triple H being sort of taken off it and whatnot. And he said they beat our developmental, like, congratulations to them, basically, in a sarcastic way. Many people have been keen to point out that for a long time, he didn't actually want people to refer to NXT as a developmental. What would your reaction be to those kind of comments?
Well, I mean, once again, it's just changing the narrative and changing the history, which makes me laugh, because when it started, it was not a developmental, it was a third brand, and it's not a marathon, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon, and all the other bullshit that they said. So of course we beat the developmental, whatever you want to call it. Who gives a shit? That was such old news. You know, and the show sucks. NXT sucks. It's not a good show, and they know it. And whether they were punished or not, they probably were punished, you know, and that's probably why Triple H said those things, because he's angry that we beat them, and he probably is angry that we exist. But, you know, we don't care about WWE. We care about our show. We care about putting on the best stories we can put on. We care about building our fan base, and building our ratings, you know, and we will continue to exist, because I'll tell you this, my boss has a lot more money than his boss does, a lot more. So you want to go to that, it's like, we're not going anywhere, and we're just continuing to grow. And I think that pisses them off. And why wouldn't it? They had a monopoly for so long. They don't like the fact we exist, and that's fine. We don't care that they exist. God bless them. And they're running a show in front of 50,000 people. Why would he even care about us? But, you know, he should, and he does. And that's why he says those things.
It's funny because
we embarrassed him.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the thing. Like, you know him so well, right? After a lot of time with him, and now he's in the hot seat. I guess you'll know exactly the way he perceives the business, and he'll, you know, and I guess the way he'll do things. And then you've got the chance, being so close with Tony Khan behind the scenes, to help do things your way in AEW, and that's fine.
Well, once again, we've been doing this for 3 years now, and continuing to grow. And you know, this is a big time corporate business. We are run and paid for by a giant television corporation. So there's always going to be growing pains when you start a new company. I think we've done, you know, 9 things right and maybe 1 thing wrong, or 2 things wrong. So we learn from that, and we continue to build our brand and continue to improve. And that, to me, is the most important thing. And that's why AEW is still the coolest and hottest wrestling company in the world today. You know, WWE has a lot of a fan base, but they've also been around for 50 years. You know, give us another 47 years and see where we're at, and I guarantee we'll still be here.
Yeah. The other thing I wanted to talk about, in terms of, you know, we were just talking about you and Tony Khan there. We know that there was some restructuring recently where they implemented more people in some positions, talent relations, etc. How would you characterize your role with Tony backstage? Like, are you kind of, you know, you're not going to, you kind of handle your own stuff. I know you map out a lot of the stories you want to do and things, but I've heard from a lot of talent how helpful you've been on their journeys, from a lot of ladies as well. So
yeah, I don't need a job title to help the company. I mean, I do it every day. Whenever I show up to TV, it's a constant, you know, constant working from 2:00 until the show is over, and that's if I'm wrestling or not. And that's the way it should be. I mean, there's not a lot of guys that have been doing this as long as I have. In our locker room, there's Sting, and there's Dustin Rhodes, and there's me, and I'm one of the original AEW guys. Probably was very integral in getting the company off the ground in a lot of ways. So I don't have a problem with giving advice and helping people. It's what I'm there for. It's part of my job. I don't need, like I said, it doesn't have to be written on a business card, or, you know, director of EVP or whatever the fuck it is. Who cares? I'm Chris Jericho. That trumps all of that. That's part, like I said, it's part of what I do. And it's been my mission since day one, was always to build stars, because it's the crux of what makes a company grow. And I think we've done such a great job of that in the last 3 years. And like you mentioned, no one knew who Daniel Garcia was 6 months ago. And now he's one of the hottest guys on our show. And that's what we do. And we continue to do that on a weekly basis. And not everybody's on TV every week, but everybody's there to continue to build and grow. And I think you see that with the amount of names that we've built and are continuing to build. And there's so many more that are just bubbling under the surface, that when they get their chance, they're going to shoot up as well.
We know there's a lot of talk. People are kind of waiting for MJF to return to AEW. And I know we've spoken about that before. During the time, you had such a long, great story together. Did you kind of get close in like a mentoring role? You know, because he's long time said, even to me, that he considered you one of the greatest of all time. He obviously had that admiration for you. Working closely together, did you kind of get to know the inner workings of MJF? And I guess you'd be keen to see him return.
Well, absolutely. I mean, he's one of our top stars, and I still don't know where he's been the last 3 months or whatever the hell it is. But once again, we we had other things to worry about, like,
Yeah.
continue to keep the ball rolling, and that's what Mox and I did. So yeah, we're waiting for him to come back, and we did have a great story. It was actually exactly a year, I think 366 days or something like that, and that's very rare to have a
Very.
great story that goes that long. Um, I think that maybe a mentor definitely taught him a lot of stuff, but he taught me a lot of stuff too. We had a lot of fun working together. He's a very creative guy. And it was like I said, it was a real pleasure to throw ideas back and forth and to come up with things. And I mean, we wrote that whole year-long story basically together. I had ideas, he had ideas, Tony had ideas, and we just kept it rolling, and it just was organic. Like, we wanted to end it at one point, and like, I think if we can still do a little bit more here, and that's what happened. So it was actually last year at All Out when we finished up our story. So yeah, I'm excited to have him back. We need him back because we need all hands on deck. Uh, and when he comes back, I think he's the last piece in our puzzle. We're just waiting for Adam Cole as well.
Yeah.
But other than that, I think Samoa Joe is ready to come back too. It's like we're finally going to have our full roster again after being so decimated during the summer. But once again, when we were decimated and we needed some guys to step in, old faithful Jericho was there, and that's how the Jericho Appreciation Society started. And when someone goes down, you got to build somebody else up, and that's what we did.
Old faithful. Did you so MJF, you have no phone calls, nothing? He's been totally radio silent.
Yeah, like I said, I don't know what he's doing. Whatever. I don't worry about stuff like that because I've got so much other stuff to worry about, like putting on great matches and great shows. So I'm sure he'll be back shortly, hopefully. And maybe he'll have his head on straight, or maybe I'll have to slap him around a bit, but that won't be the first time.
A couple of like long-term Jericho fan questions for me here. Break the Walls Down was always one of my favorite all-time themes anyway. Like, I can't think of many talents that have had two like all-time themes, right? Like, obviously I'm going to imagine Judas means more to you because you wrote it, right? You made it happen. But like, what was that first theme like for you? Like when it was pitched to you, or like how that was put together by WWE? And then when Judas happened, did you know as you were writing this, like at what point did you go, you know what, this would be a good wrestling theme?
No, Break the Walls Down was written by Jim Johnson.
Yeah.
With some input from Kevin Dunn and myself, because I wanted something much more kind of dated, almost like an 80s thing. And Kevin Dunn was like, no, you need something contemporary, something like a Rage Against the Machine. And I was like, oh, okay. And Jim came up with that. And I say, and when I first heard it, I was like, this got a real good groove to it. I remember just saying, I want more guitars on it. Like, put another 5 tracks of guitars on it. And he did. So yeah, it is one of those classic themes. And then obviously when I left WWE to go to New Japan, I couldn't use it, and maybe I could have tried, but I didn't want to. I wanted something new. And Judas was the reason why I used Judas, is because Judas was at its peak as a radio hit at the time. And we have been trying to tour Japan for 22 years that we've been in a band. We just can't get booked there for whatever reason. I thought, well, fuck, if I'm headlining the Tokyo Dome, maybe if I come to the ring to a Fozzy song, at least 50,000 people will hear it. Maybe one of those people will be a fucking promoter that can bring us over.
Marketing.
It didn't work out that way, but it did work out to be an amazing song. I remember the first time I used it was against Kenny at the Tokyo Dome, and just like, holy shit, this vibe is so good. It's so cool. And then, a few months after that, people started singing it on my cruise. And that was just a magic moment that still exists to this day. It was organic. And that's what we always look for, is an organic reaction. Then when I started the JS and turned heel, I had a remix with Rich Ward that we did that was a little bit less of a sing-along. Tony didn't want to do it. I was like, I'm a heel, I don't want people to sing. He's like, why? It's an organic moment that's people know as part of our show. Why would we want to cut off our nose to spite our face? Okay, so you use a different song, gets you heat for 1 week, and then you just have an entrance. Why? Let's fucking use it, and it's part of the show. And he was right. People sing along, and then after that, it's my job to be a heel. And this is entertainment, right? So when you have that moment where people are singing on their own organically, why mess with it? And we didn't. And as a result of all of those things, we just got a gold record for Judas, which means, 500,000 units sold or streaming equivalent of. And from what I understand, it's still steamrolling to where it's probably going to go platinum in the next 4 to 5 years. So who am I to argue with that?
Yeah. I mean, like I said, even the crowds, it's not slowing down. Like
it's
every
not. And I could, if I came to the ring 3 times, I mean, sometimes I come to the ring during Dynamite, and then I'll come to the ring for Rampage to commentate on the same night. And maybe there's another time. If we play it 3 times, people will sing it 3 times. Like, they don't fucking care. They'll just, we'll sing it again, and we'll sing it again, and we'll sing it again. So, like I said, it's part of the show, and it's a highlight of the show for so many people. So that makes me happy.
Finally, I'm a big Rock guy, as in The Rock. Your debut is still something. When I was researching for this, and I was talking to Kenny, funnily enough, and we were looking at trends, people still talk about the debut with The Rock. And I know that it wasn't that long ago. The anniversary is right around here. I'm always curious, man. Like, how much did you speak to The Rock beforehand? Because I've read your book, but like, it seems like the promos were kind of just off the cuff. So did you speak after? Like, how did that relationship develop? Because by 2001, you two were chemistry like, wow.
Well, and that's why. I mean, the chemistry was there because Rock was such a phenomenon. It was almost impossible to go toe to toe with him on the mic, but I could do that. And he recognized that fairly early on, especially with him being such a huge baby face. I was the perfect foil for him because I was the ultimate heel, and we could go toe to toe with each other. And in the ring, people forget how great of a wrestler The Rock is probably still. And we had great chemistry in the ring, and we had great chemistry out of the ring. We were really close friends. We don't talk ever now, but that's how life goes. There's no issues, but we were really, really close at that time. And just once again, he's just one of those guys when people say, who's your favorite opponents of all time? He's always listed as far as I'm concerned, because there was nothing we couldn't do. Want a great match? Okay. Want a great promo? Okay. Want a great match and a great promo? Sure. And you want to do 20 minutes of improv afterwards in fucking Tokyo in front of people that hardly speak English, but are laughing their asses off at what you're doing? Okay, let's do that too. I remember like we would just do any type of improv. I think it was in Singapore. And after the show, we'd do a conversation, whatever. And this fucking balloon floated into the ring. And I grabbed it. I was like, this is my only friend, like Wilson from Castaway.
Yeah.
And we did a whole promo about my friend, Leroy, whatever the fuck I called him. And at the end, Rock was like, well, can I talk to Leroy? And Rock talks to Leroy and goes, you know what? Shut your mouth, Leroy. And he pops Leroy. And it got the hugest reaction from the crowd. I'm like, what an asshole. Why were people cheering for you popping my friend Leroy? It was just stuff like that. We had so much fun with it. So yeah, I mean, obviously he's gone on to huge success. I've gone on to huge success, and nothing but love and respect for him. And if I saw him tomorrow, it'd be like a day hadn't passed, I'm sure.
I had always heard that if you were in the main event of WrestleMania, you're making 7 figures. Easy. Like, no doubt about it. No doubt about it whatsoever. When I got the check, it was considerably less than that. Now, I don't want to say what it was because it was still a shitload of money, but it wasn't the WrestleMania payoff that I had always heard about.